Hello everyone, Daniel from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, Episode 1, L'Homme Perdu, which translates to Lost Souls. In this series, Daryl's journey across a broken but resilient France as he hopes to find the way back home. As Daryl arrives in France, he sets off a violent chain of events that inadvertently puts a young boy at the heart of a growing religious movement in danger. This is directed by Daniel Percival, written by David Sabo, starring Norman Reedus as Daryl Dixon and Clemence Poisy as Isabel. The cast is relatively small, at least in the named characters. I wasn't able to find much about the rest of the cast, but that's okay because I don't want to go into spoilers anyways yet. So we're back with another Walking Dead spinoff. As you might remember from my last spinoff, I reviewed the Maggie and Negan series, Dead City. I watched the first episode. I thought it was fine. It was not enough to get me to buy back into the franchise. This one, very differently, it got me. I mean, I'm definitely at least watching the second one. So this is out on AMC Plus and also airing probably the day you're watching this video. This video goes live. It will have aired. So yeah, I mean, it's back. It's the normal stuff that we've seen on The Walking Dead. There's a few new twists and turns. Definitely, I think the addition of a new set like France, where first of all, how the hell did Daryl get to France? In this world, how is anybody traveling from one continent to the other? And also, can Daryl get back home? I'm assuming that's his mission. So, um, I I saw somewhere that it to the latest episode of something like I think the latest episode of Dead City. It's been 18 years since we started following these characters in the world of The Walking Dead. Like in world, it's been 18 years, which makes perfect sense because as we get a little bit of a recap, we see an older Judith, like she's a teenage girl, where we met Judith as a baby back in season 2, I believe. So crazy stuff, crazy how time flies here. Um, but yeah, I think the show feels grand. I think France, this open country feels like a very new, distinct location. And although they try to dress it up very like the post apocalypse, like the fact that they're not in an urban setting really doesn't it doesn't distinguish much from what might normally look like, other than being deserted and the lack of people or animals and stuff like that. So really interesting stuff. They introduce a new kind of zombie that I'll talk about more in a second. Feels like a different twist or a turn. I don't think they've explained it yet. I'm sure that we'll get to it. There's a season preview at the end of the episode if you watch on AMC Plus, which is how I watch this. And it seems like they're swinging for the fences. I think the fact that Norman Reedus is a big a big attraction when it comes to this. I think a lot of people like the character of Daryl. So giving him his own choice, his own show, was definitely like it was something that the people wanted. So, all right, now we're gonna get a little bit into spoilers because I'm gonna go through the events of the episode as we talk about it. So, feel free to stop watching or leave us a comment, anything like that. So we pick up with Daryl floating adrift. He gets into the beach. We don't know how he got there yet. We just know that he's kind of floated adrift. He finds a boat of a family with a tape, and they kind of use that to build the world a little bit, give you a little bit of exposition. Daryl also talks into the tape, leaving some record of his being there, also used for exposition. I think that's a very smart use of it, of like the exposition, because while Daryl is gathering supplies and doing all the stuff that he needs, he would want to keep a record of it, and other people would want to keep a record of stuff too. Now, obviously, like how does the tape recorder still have power and all that stuff? Whatever, let's not get into it. We got to give these shows a little bit of leeway. But yeah, like I said, I think France is a really interesting place. I believe we're in southern France at the moment. I'm not very good with the geography of France, but yeah, as Daryl gathers supplies, he goes into this warehouse to see if he can get anything up. He's ambushed by a bunch of walkers, zombies, and this is where we have a new twist or a fold into this world. One of the zombies grabbed Daryl, and it burnt his like the zombie burnt Daryl's arm somehow, like just by touching him. So we don't know, and they address that later on. But they don't really explain why a zombie. Like I'm trying to think, like is it infected with some chemicals? Like was there some kind of chemical thing in France that exposed zombies to that? So I don't know. I think that'll be really interesting to figure out. They call them burners because they if they touch you, they burn your skin. Uh, so then yeah, Daryl keeps going. He runs into Maribel and her grandfather, who luckily everyone in France speaks some English, or luckily for Daryl, I guess. But then some of these armored guys show up and there's trouble. And even after they take care of that, Maribel and her grandpa betray Daryl. Like they take his stuff, they leave him there. Luckily, he is found by Clemens Posey character of Isabel, who is a nun, and she takes him to the convent to kind of recover. We get a little bit of Daryl dreaming about Judith and some of the other characters from the Walking Dead show, including Carol. So I thought the spinoff was going to be Carol and Daryl. So I guess they must have really changed things up because I believe the original thing was going to be for them to do something together. Um, which, like I said, it's wild to see Judith as a teenage girl where I kind of left her off as a toddler last season that I watched. So, and then this is where the burner zombie thing comes up as the nun is helping him heal a little bit. We explain a lot of this Union of Hope religious group that the nuns are part of. So, like, it seems like all the religious people in France and maybe even further have kind of come together for like just one religious group, like just all the religions kind of combined. We meet Laurent, who's a smart young boy, like very subtle clues of like, oh, he has a Rubik's cube and he can speak English, and he's kind of like looking, he's examining Daryl as he eats and stuff like that. Some of the other nuns aren't too happy that Daryl's there, and I mean Norman Reedus does have that bad boy look. So we go back to see Maribel and her grandfather. They're ambushed by some of the other guys, these armored people that have cars and stuff like that. The grandpa gets killed very gruesomely. And then we go back to the convent. We see that the priest that used to be there has been turned into a zombie, but the nuns are keeping him around to, I don't know, they say they want to show him mercy, so they just kind of keep him locked in this cage. So all those little details of like how different people would react to the zombie apocalypse, I think exploring how nuns or even religious people would react to this, it's pretty interesting. I'm sure we've seen something like that before, but it's been a while since I've really dug into The Walking Dead, so it's kind of interesting to explore that. The army guys, of course, it turns out that the guys that were ambushed earlier were related to them, so they go to the convent, try to find Daryl, and big fight. Almost everyone at the convent dies. It is wild. These nuns are armed to the teeth. They put up a big fight, but then Daryl comes in, saves everyone. Only one of the dudes gets away. It seems like the main guy, or at least the main guy in that little group. So it was, I think it was pretty well done. Like some really cool fights, really interesting effects. Of course, the show's very violent, as we've come to expect. So yeah, that's kind of where we leave off with this first episode with the survivors, which are Isabel, Laurent, the little boy, Daryl, and one of the other nuns that I don't have. I don't know if she's a named character, but they're gonna go search for this religious group that they're a part of, to try to bring Laurent there so he can learn. They see Laurent as the second coming, or a Messiah character, because like I said, he's very quickly we see in the show that he's a smart boy, that there's something special about him, but I think the show's taking it to a new level. There is kind of a not really post credit scene, but just like a epilogue, or yeah, an epilogue, where we see in northern France, we find out how Daryl got there. We see that there was a large ship, which I guess they just kind of loaded up a bunch of people in America, and then Daryl was able to escape. But that's about it. We don't know what this group wants. We don't know. We know they're doing some research on the zombies. We know that they're keeping some around to study them. I don't know if they're the ones that are responsible for having some of these burner zombies. Hopefully, we'll get more into that. And then the season preview just lets us know that the show's going to get a lot bigger, a lot grander. Like there's going to be a lot more stuff happening. So it'll be really interesting to dig into that in the future. So yeah, this was enough to get me hooked on the premise of the show. Enough to get me hooked to watch the next episode. I believe these air a little bit earlier on AMC Plus. Usually the shows come out on Thursday on AMC Plus, so we'll see. I don't know about this one. I only checked on this one today because I remembered and I wanted to do a review for the first episode. So if the show's good enough, I'll make another video. Maybe I'll do a video at the end of the season instead. I think we're gonna get 12 episodes, which feels like a lot for a Walking Dead show. We still have Fear the Walking Dead coming back, and then later on we have the Michonne and Rick show that's gonna come out as well, or movies or whatever those are gonna end up being. So, yeah, there's still plenty of Walking Dead for the fans out there, even though the main series has concluded. So if you watched this and enjoyed it, let me know down in the comments. If you didn't like it, let me know why you didn't like it. What do you think of Daryl having his own show? So yeah, as always, thanks for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.